Hello, dear friends. The soul is patient because it exists beyond time and space, but the ego is impatient. Opinion piece. The dam has broken. It's all happening. Friday began. Avalanche of events. System implosion. The new world is here. The domino effect begins. The raven has broken its wing. From dubs to flooding. Predictions are confirmed. Money seeks safe havens. Capital movement on Thursday. You are the kings and queens now. Disclosure process accelerates. The next phase of the process begins. We are at the noisy end of an era. A great global storm is brewing. Bankruptcy triggers flood. The social and political matrix will collapse. The first big change will be financial. The goal is to make a smooth transition. The truth will be revealed sooner than later. You are tired and you deserve much better. The new energy is incompatible with the matrix. The path to freedom is never easy or free. These changes are due to increased frequency. The less aware will have fear and confusion. If Germany joins BRICS, it's game over. 6,000 years of darkness versus months for victory. Let's start. The collapse of London Bridge would symbolically mean the breaking of a dam embankment that would trigger a flood. The sovereign is dead in public view. Theories abound as to what her life was really like and the kinds of things she was doing. Even the moment she breathed her last is subject to speculation. We may or may not be aware of the real truth of all that, but this piece is not so much about this lady as it is about everything that has set in motion the announcement of her passing, according to Susanna Maresca. Charlie Watt and Simon Pax said that the public announcement of the fall of London Bridge would be the last marker before we get to devaluation of currencies and the implosion of the old financial system. I remember a phrase from the old spy films that said, "The raven has broken its wing," which meant the fall of one of their most important agents at the time of the Second World War. I loved spy movies like the one called "The Spy Who Came in from the Cold," which is the title of a novel written by British author John le Carré and published in 1963. Financial storm. Money is rushing to any safe harbor it can. The market is starting to line up in a big way. It looks like the rich in Asia are running because two more banks in China have failed. We also saw a half-cent increase in the price of silver and a huge amount of orders for physical metals from Asia and Europe. Something is afoot, and it started in earnest on Friday. End quotes. A great global storm is brewing, warns Moscow. We saw a tremendous movement of capital on Thursday out of the fiat system. It will most likely continue first thing Monday morning and through the weekend. Lagarde says the ECB cannot offer liquidity to energy companies. She said it is up to each individual nation in Europe to handle it, or in other words, spend it as you can. This is important because the only country that can survive this crisis is Germany, and it is precisely Germany that carries the lion's share of the European Union. If Germany joins the BRICS, it's game over. The Vatican wants the central banks to return all their money to it by 30th September. That is also important. It would be too late for them if they don't get it back before then, because things are starting to get out of control. Ron Paul says the monetary system will be reformed and gold will be used. In quotes. In a world drawing in debt, the monetary system itself is on loan. When the time comes from reform, gold will once again play a role. The era of money as a whim of central banks is coming to an end. The gold-backed Eurasian monetary system is defined the Davos reset. Once the Eurasian alliances announce their de-dollarized monetary system backed by gold, precious metals and commodities, they are expected to announce a jubilee that forgives their member states' dollar and euro-denominated debt. The stability and security offered by this new Eurasian cooperation will attract more nations to join. At that point, Western nations will have no choice but to embrace this monetary restart or collapse. China's gold policy was always an insurance policy against the collapse of the dollar, announcing a gold standard for the yuan before that. Flood. What has been leaked to the public over the last 5 years in small, newsworthy drops will now be flooded in an unmistakable and inescapable gush of information. We need to know what has been happening to humankind and as a whole, and especially to our children. Is that what will be revealed in the anticipated emergency broadcast system EBS? That and any number of truths that all over the world we wish were not so unpleasant. It seems that the coming whirlwind will include a rapid exposure of much, but certainly not all, of what has been our secret reality around the world, and it is pretty grim. Gone are the monarchs representing draconic control of the planet. The date chosen to announce the sovereign's departure from us was more than a coincidence. It was planned for a long time by the White Hats. It makes you wonder who is directing this film, but it seems clear that we are now reaching the climax or crescendo, leading to the denouement or swift conclusion. Whatever appears, it is up to us as lightworkers to simply let be the light. Let us be all that God wants us to be, and keep your thinking and focus on the good, the true, and the beautiful. The rest is window dressing. Domino effect. This event has been an important marker that will then trigger other events by domino effect. The new world is here. The old one created by the devil has to end. A shock, an emergency, and quick actions are needed to make this happen. Predictions are confirmed. I have predicted the possible events we have been waiting for, such as the EBS, the fall of London Bridge, the stock market crash, etc. While in the past the White Hats have been planning such events and not going ahead for various reasons, we know that the EBS and certain events connected to it, which will change the way we do certain things and the world as we know it, are near. The truth will be revealed sooner than later. Emergency transmission, gold standards, restart, currency revaluation, and a stock market crash will happen, and the whole system change is coming. I have talked about the fear event involving war scenarios like China and Taiwan, as well as Russia and Ukraine. Next phase. The next phase of the awakening process begins. What is unfolding in the world from a higher perspective has one purpose: to unite humankind and cause them to rise and one. You will see this rise. The last ones who have led humankind into the abyss are being neutralized. Those who have held power for millennia are being driven out. All that they seized will be returned to humankind. This is what is happening now, and this is all part of the great shift. So the dark is making a few more attempts to distract the masses, but this should be short-lived. You must rise above all tastic of darkness, rising above fear, rising in love. Through the expansion of consciousness, we open doors to realities that we desire and that are already present. This is how we are saving the world. It is through you that the higher light is being anchored upon the earth. This leads to the collapse of low-frequency structures and lays the foundation for a new reality. Focus on your heart center and watch the expansion of your inner light encompassing the entire earth. The new energies entering the planet at this time are not compatible with the current 3D structures. All of this will dissolve. You are going to see a great change in the days ahead. The light is preparing to reveal new truths on the world stage. The political and social matrix will collapse. The process of disclosure will accelerate. The next phase of the awakening process has begun. This collapse of the old may be fine for you, the light workers. However, it will cause fear and confusion to the less conscious. This is where you step in and have a room for compassion and share your wisdom with them. We are aware that there are many light workers who want rapid change. However, the veil cannot be removed too quickly, as it would cause fear and commotion in the population. Imagine a dark room at night, and then you turn on the light. Everything becomes bright at once. Everything is seen. Many would collapse from shock and disbelief as they are not ready. The soul is patient because it exists beyond time and space, and it knows what divine time and the highest good for all really mean. It is only the ego that seeks to move abruptly because it is self-serving. The goal is to make this transition as smooth as possible for all. My God is annoying with noises. The first major change you will see is the transformation on the financial and economic systems and the exposure of the few remaining dark agents. Their pyramid scheme is going to fall once and for all. It's time for humankind to realize that this world will not return to the old normal. Things will not continue as they are now. With the new frequencies of light, you will witness the complete dissolution of all three-dimensional aspects of your life, and you will shift completely into a new reality of divine light. Profound meaning. The Divine Beings Collective speaks on the death of the monarch through Caroline Oceana Ryan. Caroline says, in quotes, "I feel it is the end of an era, but in a different way that most people think of that phrase. I feel it has a deeper meaning than just passing the crown from one person to another. In relation to the end of the almost lifelong reign of the being known as Elizabeth II, we would say here is another part of the old construct. All of you have chosen to live in a higher light, have known at a higher level that the old way of life has now ended. So, while no one of consciousness would wish for the end of another in the physical, you and the wave of light that flows now have wished for the old actors to leave the stage, as for those who for so long have been in the role of oligarchs, controllers, and the like-minded. This is what much of earthly royalty has corroborated and represented, and their time is over, dear ones. It is we who are with you in your ascension process to Earth, and your group and individual ascension paths. We honor and observe your experience on Earth, flowing encouraging energies to you, and we intervene only as universal law allows, and as your own progress and your request for help indicates. We fully understand the grief of those who identified with the empire this lady represented throughout her life, and we honor and respect that experience of grief. However, we realize that humankind cannot move to the next level without the parties of the old system leaving the scene, and that is what is happening now. End of an era. What you are witnessing is the noisy end of an era, not just a chapter of humankind's history, but an entire aspect of planetary culture, not just its pomp, traditions and hierarchies, but the colonizing efforts it has sustained for millennia. And that end is the door that closes noisily on the old structures. You will also witness others leaving for various destinations. Indeed, many have been replaced by doubles, clones, impersonators, and the solid hologram technology of known individuals. You also have on your Earth shapeshifters, who appear to be a type of humankind and who are in fact another being. These occupy many of the highest level in banking, media and government throughout the world, and not just in certain countries. This too is coming to an end. Again, realize that this is not something that happens to Earth and humankind's life any more than your own life has happened to you. Without your having planned for these events, including the ones that have hurt you the most. Indeed, we see much grief now in various places around the world over the loss of this lady. You are the leaders. Irrespectable to associate with honorable conduct and intentions, including the desire to serve a nation. It is respectable. One who admires a monarch who appears to serve in a positive way, to the best of his or her ability, should be respected and supported in his or her grief at the loss of an admired leader. As humankind invests more and more in its own honor and its own courage on this path of ascension, the old hierarchical way of life will fade away to the point where it is barely remembered. You are the true leaders of this and all succeeding generations, for you have chosen to go beyond the assumed limitations of being a mere mortal, commoner or laborer, and other diminutives. These two were roles you willingly played for a time. However, now, call yourselves by your real names. See yourselves as the gods and goddesses of creation that you truly are. For now, despite the pains of your birth, you are at all times stepping into your divine force and into your true self. Inner changes. This is not really due to external events, although the external events serve as indicators of the great shift of energy now coming to the planet. These changes are largely due to the increase in the level and intensity of the electromagnetic frequencies flowing from the Sun. You will notice the many coronal mass ejections, intense solar flares, and opening and portals within the Sun itself, which are putting the Earth into a higher stream of light that is transforming into very intense levels of experience. This is not surprising, considering how the Sun itself is evolving at a higher level. However, to most people who are aware of these activities, it may seem that the behavior of the Sun in relation to the Earth would be strange and unreasonable. It seems to many that there are too many changes, too hard and too fast a journey, evolving everyone on the planet, as well as the Earth itself. In fact, these changes could be a very difficult journey at times. Instead of resisting the changes that are happening now, flow into them, even when you are crying from shock, pain, or discomfort. Allow yourself to cry, to get the anger out in a constructive way, to move beyond regrets and questions about why certain things have happened in your life. You came here to resolve the old pain, shock, grief, and anger that have been following you from lifetime to lifetime, remaining trapped in your etheric energies as soul imprints and surfacing in each lifetime as something happens that triggers the old reactions or hits the old wound. You are amazed that something so terrible could happen, even though you have written those events on your own timeline. This would be so for life on Earth and one's own upward path to ascension, as it is for each of you as an individual. It would be very small the impact you feel to have to re-experience the previous pain compared to the discomfort you experienced after you have left the lifetime on Earth and realized that once again you have not fully healed and resolved the old contracts of your previous lifetime, as well as the one you have just left. At this time that you find yourselves in, those who wish to ascend beyond the third dimension have collectively decided that it is time to release, resolve, and completely end the trauma, grievances, and sins of the old Earth that have plagued your planet as well as your individual experience. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.